Welcome back to my channel. Let's get started.
Ah, the Hexenzirkel, quite possibly the most mysterious and dangerous group in Teyvat. I mean, this coven is comprised of individuals who are seemingly immune to Irminsul changes, can create entire armies of the Abyss, and can even read the fate of the entire world. On the flip, however, there are seemingly ordinary humans among them who just write books and lead ordinary mortal lives. I mean, good for them, good for them. Quite the dichotomy though. One fact remains, however, and that's that regardless of abilities or race, every member of the Hexenzirkel is a witch. Look, I'm from Massachusetts. We have a short and easy to understand history with witches.
We have found the witch! May we burn her!
With that said, however, I'll try to suppress my inner hatred for them and be as unbiased as possible when talking about these bitches. Witches. The Hexenzirkel is a group that at one point was made up of 8 witches, each of whom had a code letter corresponding with their real name. The elder of the group is Alice, also known as A. Then there's the Astromancer Barbeloth Trismegistus, or B, Rhinedottir Gold, also known as R, Nicole Rain for N, Ivanova for J, and finally Rhinedottir, also known as M. There's 2 more members of the group, but at this time we don't know who they are as they've never been mentioned. Could be powerful witches, could be more humans, we really don't know. Of the 6 I did mention, 2 are dead. Rhinedottir and Ivanova presumably died from old age, seeing as they were just humans. Rhinedottir is described by Alice as a legend that never ends.
As for a legend that never ends, you may not know M in person, but you've likely encountered one of her works. Have any of you ever read The Boar Princess?
Huh? I'm pretty sure every child in Mondstadt has read that book.
It's also one of my favorite stories. M was an exceptional human writer who used her prose to teach me the meaning of grief. Don't you think such a person would deserve a seat at the mage's table?
She was a great writer who at the end of her life decided to write the popular kids book The Boar Princess, as a way to be remembered, seeing as she was dying way before all the other witches. It worked, as the book remains extremely popular in modern day Teyvat. The other dead human witch is Ivanova, who's literally only known for leaving the Hexenzirkel after marrying some feller. I mean, this is it. This is all we know about her. Moving on to the more powerful members of the group, let's start with Nicole Reen. Alice describes her as a guide who will never get lost, and as someone who will guide those who are lost when a change has occurred in this world.
The guide who will never get lost is N, otherwise known as Nicole. You may not have encountered her yet, but she is a truly extraordinary woman who has made this world's direction and order her subject of study. Some of you may be fortunate enough to have already heard her voice. Like a prophetess, she will only speak to guide people toward the truth when a change has occurred in the world.
Mona also tells us she's older than even her master, who herself is a few hundred years old. Aside from Alice, Nicole is the only other member of the Hexenzirkel we've interacted with, and both times it was to guide us. The first was when the Traveler noticed the vase was still broken even after Scaramouche erased himself from history. To the Traveler, this should have been impossible given the vase was only broken after Paimon bumped into it after talking about Scaramouche. It was then Nicole came to us and offered us, well, guidance.
When a small animal runs into a tree trunk, though the tree may sway, it is not displaced. The same is true of fate. Like a vase that falls to the ground. Whether it is broken by a cat or by a bird, the result is still a broken vase, is it not?
Okay, never mind. That's not guidance. This is what is this cryptic bullshit she's speaking to us in? See, this is the reason why we burnt them at the stake. Frickin' witches. Our second interaction with Nicole is even more interesting than the first, as it may have offered us some clues as to who she is.
The voice from the sky, I fear that description is wrong. Though, not completely wrong.
Well, this is interesting. By voice in the sky, it seems like Nicole is referencing Celestia, and she indicates she has nothing to do with them. However, she clarified that description is not completely wrong. Nicole is old. someone who loves guiding, sorta like a Seelie, and someone who might have some connection to the sky. This makes me wonder if she has some sort of connection with the Moon Sisters. The Moon Sisters, for those unaware, are quite possibly the oldest beings in Teyvat. Their names are Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, and I say were because, well, they're all dead. They all went mad and killed one another after watching the Great Calamity befall the Seelie race. Before dying, all three dwelled in their lunar palace in the sky. Of course, the biggest problem with this idea here is they're all dead and Nicole is alive. And that this also makes her way too old, as in Nicole would have to be about 7,000 years old. But if she's not from Celestia and has no connection with the Moon Sisters, I wonder what Nicole's relationship with the sky is. Another interesting bit of information about Nicole is she's seemingly immune to Irminsul changes, as she knows when changes have occurred in this world. That shouldn't be possible, as when changes do happen to Irminsul, everyone in Teyvat should be completely unaware. So far, we only know this should be possible for outsiders, and assuming Nicole is from Teyvat, how is it she's unaffected by changes to Irminsul? Moving on from Nicole, let's briefly talk about Rhinedottir, because I literally just made a video about her yesterday. Described as a flower not of this world, Rhinedottir is a mage from Conria who is the only person in Teyvat to have mastered the art of Chemia, which is an alchemical art focused on the creation of life. With it, she created many, as she put it, children, including Rift Wolves, Doran, and the Wolf Lord. Following the disaster in Conria, she created Albedo and told him to find Alice and seek the truth of this world before leaving him all on his lonesome. She has never been heard from since then. Rhinedottir is also known as the Great Sinner, as she's thought to bear some blame for the disaster in Conria, but whether she started it or responded to it by releasing her monsters of the abyss is not known yet. Next up is Barbeloth, or like Mona says, the old hag. Astromancer Barbeloth Trismegistus is another powerful mage whom Mona calls a visionary. In Teyvat, a visionary is someone who can read the fate of the entire world, and so far we only know two of them, Barbeloth and Verflonir. Aside from this, not much is known about her. I mean, she's a few hundred years old, she's rivals with Alice, although it's in a friendly sort of way just because she did pick out Klee's hat for her. But other than that, we don't know much, and speaking of Alice, let's talk about her. She's the elder of the Hexenzirkel, and along with being the most powerful witch in the group, she's probably one of the strongest beings in all of Teyvat. Alice is a witch who has traveled the entire world and beyond. She seemingly knows the truth of this world, as in the Wings of Festering she writes, quote, "Once upon a time the world was ruled by dragons. Later on humans appeared in that world, no one knows how this happened, maybe they came from following meteorites, who knows." Whether she actually doesn't know or simply didn't want to tell Klee the truth about the war is up for debate, but just knowing that humans aren't native to Teyvat says something. Alice is currently on a mission to strengthen Teyvat's borders, as she says they've grown weak, whatever that means, and that's why she hasn't been around. Alice has brought trinkets over from other worlds, and Albedo describes her as wielding nigh omnipotent powers, with Mona commenting that while her master is only a master of astrology, Alice is a master of many different fields. Anyway, that's all the members of the Hexenzirkel we know of right now. I mean, despite sounding like a scary group, it seems like all they really were a group of friends meeting for tea parties. Regardless, it seems like they're becoming more integrated into the plot, because they do have some pretty powerful members that I'm sure will show up. But we'll meet him in the future, and I'm also 100% sure that Hoyo is holding on tightly to that Alice banner. Or maybe not, who knows.
You know what it is? A lot of you say that I sound bad. Maybe you guys think I sound bad and you're making fun of me. I mean, sucks you don't get to hear what I hear, because it sounds like an angel.